UFC 298, Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria just ended, and this is going to be my full card post-fight. I'm going to go through every single fight on the card and give you my reaction and breakdown, starting off with the first fight of the night. We have Andrea Lee versus Miranda Maverick. Miranda Maverick wins via unanimous decision. I gave her all 3 rounds. Andrea Lee got a Kurt Angle-style suplex in the first round and almost got a triangle. That's a bit of an exaggeration in the third round with 10 seconds to go. Miranda Maverick just waited it out. She said it wasn't close in her post-fight interview. Basically, Miranda Maverick just outstruck her and outgrappled her for the majority of the fight. She was clearly the more skilled fighter. Andrea Lee looked terrible in this fight, looked slow in this fight. Third round was majority striking. Lee started to kind of land some shots with like a minute to go. Miranda Maverick immediately shot in on a takedown, took her down, was controlling her there, and then Lee almost cinched up a triangle with 15, 20 seconds to go, but Miranda Maverick just waited it out. She said it wasn't even close in her post-fight, so she waited out. Joe Rogan was acting like it was almost over. It did look kind of tight, but Miranda Maverick, clearly the better fighter. The only thing that surprised me about this fight was Andrea Lee's husband in her corner, Tony Kelly, didn't drop a racial slur the entire fight. So I couldn't believe it. I guess he's fighting Miranda Maverick, or she's fighting Miranda Maverick. He couldn't really come up with one to say for that. So that was the only surprising thing about this fight. Moving up on the card, we have Val Woodburn versus Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott catches Val Woodburn early with a head kick, hurts him, it seems. Val Woodburn just ate it. Oban started rushing in, got clipped badly, almost gets finished, survives, gets a takedown, gets control. I think he took his back, started looking for a rear naked choke, ends the round in full mount, doing damage. I thought it was a clear round for Oban Elliott, even though he did get hurt early. And then basically second and third round was just Oban Elliott outstriking him, outgrappling him, controlling him on the ground, and Val Woodburn throwing some big shots. And then in the third round, Woodburn was so tired that he was just stalling in the clinch up against the fence. So I really don't think Woodburn is UFC caliber. I don't think either guy really particularly impressed me. But if it wasn't for that one big shot in the first round that hurt Oban, this is a complete shutout of 30. I mean, it's already a 30-27, but it would have been a complete shutout. Oban was clearly the better striker, better grappler. Third round was atrocious. Both guys looked terrible, but at the end of the day, Oban Elliott gets it done, 30-27. Moving up on the card, we have Josh Quinlan versus Danny Barlow. Danny Barlow gets a third round KO. He looked good the entire fight. He was lighting up Josh Quinlan. Josh Quinlan would have some moments where he'd kind of move forward and land some decent shots. Barlow was landing step-in knees the entire fight and was just faster on the feet, was landing good shots, busting him up. Quinlan would only have really moments when he moved forward, but that was it. He lost the first round, lost the second round. He had some moments in the second round. There was a cup shot in the second round, and then after Barlow got a bit of a rest there, he came back on strong because it was a close round up until that point. Clearly took the second round. Then the third round, I respect Quinlan so much. Quinlan knew he needed a finish. He knew he dropped the first 2 rounds. He went out there looking for a finish, got super aggressive, got clipped with the left hand badly, dropped badly, ground and pounded a bit. It was almost getting stopped, but he got back up. He gets dropped again. He got dropped like 3 times in the ensuing chaos. And the last time he gets up, he gets clipped with a shot, starts turning away and running away. And Jason Herzog steps in. It was a little bit of a weird stoppage. Like, could have been stopped anywhere in the 15 seconds before the stoppage, but I 100% think it was a good stoppage, even though it seemed a little bit weird. Quinlan was busted up badly, but Barlow looked fast. He landed a lot of step-in knees in this fight. The second round I was talking about, he looked weird. Like he was throwing almost like a right hook, but also a jab at the same. It was weird, but turns out something was wrong with his arm. He said in his post-fight, maybe he broke his arm. I thought something might have looked weird on his arm, but I think that probably explains it, but either way, he still gets the finish. I thought it was an impressive performance from Danny Barlow and got the third round KO in an emphatic fashion. So I think it was a good win for Barlow. Moving up on the card, we have Mingyang Zhang versus Brendson Ribeiro. First round KO for Zhang. Nasty, nasty KO. And honestly, Ribeiro was actually winning the fight. I mean, it didn't last very long. It ended, let's see, 1 minute and 41 seconds into the first round. Ribeiro was getting better at the striking, in my opinion, was landing the better shots. But he's reckless. Both of these guys are reckless in each shots. And Ribeiro, boom, got hit with a nasty right hook, then a left hand, and then Zhang just followed up with some hammer fist. But he was done after he got dropped. It was over. Zhang's a former heavyweight. He has nasty power. He's the more technical striker, but I thought Ribeiro would probably get it done just because I thought he had more power and I thought he was going to be a little bit more aggressive. But I knew this was a coin flip. I knew someone was getting finished early, and you have Mingyang Zhang getting it done via first round KO. Nasty, brutal KO by Zhang. Moving up on the card, Rinya Nakamura versus Carlos Vera. Nakamura wins via unanimous decision. Honestly, I didn't even want to watch this fight. This was one of the worst fights I've ever watched. I just felt so disgusted. I didn't care to even watch it really that much. Wasn't paying that close attention. But basically, Nakamura out-grappled him for the majority of the fight. Early, he had some decent hard ground and pound, like in the first round. But after that, it was pretty much just Nakamura out-grappling him, and you had Vera looking for leg locks the entire fight, never ever coming close. But you have Joe Rogan say, oh, he's in real trouble here. He's in real trouble here. He's in real trouble here. You had the occasional submission attempt, but he never really got close. For Nakamura, occasionally looking for a submission attempt, and basically just out-grappled him, took his back, I think, a couple times, controlled him on the ground. Carlos Vera, no business in the UFC at all. Apparently, Nakamura injured himself in this fight. There was a lot of hand and arm injuries. I can't remember which one he said he had during this fight card. So we'll give him a little bit of, kind of leniency with the performance, but this was an abysmal performance. This was probably the worst fight on the card, but Nakamura just out-grappled him the entire fight, and Vera just rolled for leg locks over and over and over again. Moving up on the card, we have Marcos Rogério de Lima versus Junior Tafa. De Lima has some horrible fight IQ. De Lima got a second-round KO. It was basically a leg kick KO. And De Lima was chopping his legs early. Keep in mind, Junior Tafa stepped in on a day's notice for his brother. Was chopping the legs early, hurt him early, but then would clinch up immediately afterwards. It was the dumbest decision I ever seen. And was hurting him with leg kicks the entire first round, landing combinations. Basically, I felt like Lima could have finished it in the first round, but he was shooting on takedowns and clinching up with Tafa instead of just leg kicking him. Second round, same thing, leg kicking him. I think at one point, he had a nasty flurry after a leg kick. You had Tafa, every time he got caught with a leg kick, he was limping away. And then basically, you have a calf kick that drops Tafa. Tafa goes to the ground, almost starts to fall back. He's completely done. He's expecting the fight to get stopped. He gives up. He literally gave up. Okay, and I understand his leg was battered, but he gave up. Referee almost doesn't step in, and then almost steps in, and then doesn't step in, and then you have a couple ground and pound shots, and then the referee finally steps in. Lima absolutely destroyed Tafa. Tafa, I wish he wouldn't have stepped in for his brother. I mean, Justin Tafa handed Junior Tafa an ass whooping. Lima absolutely destroyed him. I just don't get why Lima was destroying his leg and kept clinching. Are you that stupid? Are you genuinely that stupid? Tafa threw some big shots, never really landed anything clean, just got his leg destroyed the entire fight and got TKO'd. Moving up on the card to the featured prelim, Amanda Lemos versus Mackenzie Dern. I know a lot of people are going to have a problem with this. This fight was a robbery. Mackenzie Dern won this fight. If you disagree, you need to lay off the Joe Rogan commentary, okay? Lemos in the first round landed a couple good leg kicks, okay? Just a couple good leg kicks. They were fine. They were decent. They did a little bit of damage. Mackenzie Dern continued to rush forward. Boom, double leg with 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes left on the clock. Took her down, controlled her, and did some decent ground and pound. It wasn't anything crazy, but there was some elbows. There was some decent ground and pound. Clearly won the first round, in my opinion. The control time plus the damage on the ground was better than the 3 leg kicks that Amanda Lemos landed. She clearly won the first round, in my opinion. Dern won the first round. Second round, Lemos absolutely battered her, hurt her badly, was looking to finish her. The body language from Dern looked absolutely horrible. It looked like she was going to get finished. And then basically, towards the after the kind of finishing sequence, Lemos ended up in the clinch with Dern. I think Dern clinched up with her. Lemos gets a takedown, but immediately Dern reverses her, sweeps her, ends up on top, but doesn't do anything with it. I think it's a 10-9. It could be a 10-8. If you're arguing a draw for this fight, I respect it. Third round, Dern drops Lemos, clips her with a shot. Then immediately Lemos jumps up before Dern can get on top of her. Dern clinches up, almost pulls guard, but Lemos is standing up and she's looking for a guillotine. And then eventually does get her down. Lemos just goes down on top of her. Dern uses the same sweep, ends up on top. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but she's already sealed the round with kind of dropping her, and now she's on top of her on the ground, and she's kind of looking to set up submissions, and she's doing a little bit of ground and pound, and clearly won the third round. There's no doubt about it that Dern won the third round. Towards the end, the last maybe 20, 30 seconds, Lemos kind of got up, gets taken down again. There's kind of a leg entanglement. Lemos is on top, throwing some kind of ground and pound, but Dern's hiding her head, not getting eaten with ground and pound. Clearly won the third round. There's no doubt in my mind that Dern won round 3 and round 1. I think it's a 29-28 for Dern. Lemos gets the decision. And I know people are going to say, damage, damage, damage. Rogan always hypes up calf kicks. I mean, he hypes up calf kicks the entire fight card, basically. Anytime someone does a calf kick, Rogan acts like it's the resurrection of Jesus Christ himself. So stop listening to Rogan's commentary. Dern won this fight 29-28. If you want to argue a draw, maybe a 10-8 second round, you could, but I think Dern just has horrible body language. Her striking hasn't evolved all that much, but man, is she game. She's ready to go. And Lemos has horrible cardio. Third round cardio was atrocious. As soon as Dern survived that second round onslaught, I said, oh, it's going to get interesting in the third round. And sure enough, she dominated her in the third round. So I think Dern got screwed here. She took a short notice fight against a dangerous opponent, coming off a loss against Jessica Andrade. And I feel like she got screwed by the judges. So you have Amanda Lemos winning 29-28. I can't remember if one judge, I think it was all 29-28 scorecards. But yeah, I think it was all 29-28 scorecards. But it was a unanimous decision for Lemos. That's crazy to me. Dern won this fight 29-28, rounds 1 and 3. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Moving up on the card to the main card. This pay-per-view actually was really enjoyable and was hyped up beforehand, had a lot of quality fights. But you have Anthony Hernandez versus Roman Khabibulov. Khabibulov was landing some good shots in this fight. And you had Hernandez kind of pressing forward. You had Khabibulov landing some good body kicks. Hernandez, like midway through the round, really started shooting. He was pressuring for the majority of the round. When he moved forward, he was having some decent success, landing some of his own shots. But Khabibulov was really chewing up that body, which I thought he would. Threw some head kicks, but Hernandez pretty much blocked those. Like the last minute, maybe minute and a half, I don't know, it could have been 2 minutes left in the first round. Hernandez starts looking to chain some takedowns together. Khabibulov is defending well, but still he's not exiting the kind of the grappling exchange. So, and I think at one point he maybe got down to a knee. And then at the end of the round, Hernandez, super high fight IQ move. He realized, look, there's like 5 seconds left. Instead of kind of looking for the takedown, Khabibulov was kind of in takedown defense mode. Lets it go, starts throwing elbows up against the fence, and lands a couple solid elbows, but Khabibulov still clearly won the first round with the body kicks and the hands, in my opinion. Then the second round, Hernandez just started pressing nonstop, just pressing forward. Khabibulov landed some body kicks, but you can see the movement of Khabibulov starting to slow down. He's starting to tire. He did take this on short notice. And then Hernandez gets a double leg, takes him down. I think there's some fighting up against the fence. He gets him to a knee, but eventually gets a double leg, takes him down, starts immediately looking to get the back, takes the back, gets a rear naked choke where it looks like it's going to get finished, and then Khabibulov's getting the thumbs up. And then Khabibulov tried, and I think it was Khabibulov trying to scramble up when Hernandez initially grabbed the first rear naked choke attempt, and he survives that somehow, but then puts his hands on the mat, starts looking to get up again. Boom, Hernandez locks in a rear naked, has the hooks in, and starts kind of nodding his head and smiling. He knew he had it. Khabibulov tries to hold out, tries to fight the hands, eventually taps out. Amazing performance by Anthony Hernandez. Incredible performance. This was a battle of, two really good middleweight prospects, and Hernandez went out there and got it done. He's super gritty. The grappling is amazing. I mean, the way he snatched up the back, I remember it was super quick, and he had a body lock in a second. And then the way he adjusted as Khabibulov was moving around, he's taking out the body lock, removing the hooks, kind of readjusting, getting it back in, looking for the rear naked choke. Phenomenal win by Anthony Hernandez. Fluffy Hernandez gets the second round rear naked choke. Moving up on the card, we have Merab Dvalishvili versus Henry Cejudo. First round, Henry Cejudo won the first round, clear as day. Henry landed a really good left hand, was looking decent in the striking, was looking very fast for Merab. Merab was landing some decent punches, got a takedown at one point, but Henry Cejudo got right back to his feet. And then towards the end of the round, I think it was Merab caught a kick, took Cejudo down again, but then as he kind of goes to follow him down, he slips, ends up on his back, and Cejudo ends up on top of him. So Cejudo clearly won the first round. But then he started to slow down, and Merab's cardio was just unbelievable. The second round, Merab's clearly outstriking him. Cejudo starts shooting takedowns, easily defended by Merab. Easily defending the takedowns, landing on the feet. Merab got multiple takedowns in the second round. And at one point, I could not believe it. He literally picked Henry Cejudo up and gave him, or no, that was in the third round. I'm mistaken. I'm looking down at my note here. I have spine buster in the third round. So I'm wrong. So Merab's landing better shots in the second round. Gets a couple takedowns in the second round. Cejudo's kind of dragging to the fence to get back up. And I think he did get back up. And then at the end of the round, towards like the last 30 seconds, Cejudo shoots in on a takedown, gets stuffed. And then Merab starts to look up to lock up an anaconda choke. And then he's talking to Mark Zuckerberg in the crowd. And then he starts kissing the back of Henry Cejudo and kind of taunting a little bit. Merab clearly won the second round. Cejudo's starting to get deflated. He's starting to get clipped on the feet. His shots aren't having that big of effect against Merab since that left hand in the first round. Then in the third round, Merab's landed on the feet. I think he got a takedown early. It was like a caught kick and then a trip, took him down. Henry got back up. Then he literally does I guess a fireman's carry. I don't know. He double legs Henry Cejudo, picks him up over his shoulder, looks around, finds Zuckerberg, carries him over there and just spine busters him right in front of Zuckerberg. And then starts beating him up. Merab clearly won the third round. Cejudo just didn't have, he was deflated. He was tired. He was getting outstruck. He was getting out grappled. It was crazy to see the pace that Merab put on him. And it was crazy to see Merab just kind of manhandle him in the clinch. And that's what it was. It was Merab manhandling him in the clinch. I mean, when Henry would get taken down, he would look to get to a hip and find his way back to his feet most times. But it was just crazy that Merab was able to manhandle him like that. Henry Cejudo is known for his wrestling. And Merab clearly won 29-28. There was no doubts about that. Goes to decision. He gets the win. Phenomenal performance from Merab. Unequivocal, undeniable, number one contender in the bantamweight division. Are they going to try to protect Sean O'Malley? Dana's already said Merab's getting the next title shot, but he still also parroted the narrative that Merab turned down title shots, which isn't true, by the way. Merab calls it out in his post-fight speech and say, we never sent contracts. I just said out loud I didn't want to fight Aljo. I was never the number one contender. I never was offered a contract. And Dana still talked about that in the post-fight press. It's just a lie to protect Sean O'Malley, and fans keep regurgitating it and it's driving me nuts. Henry Cejudo apparently wanted to retire. They didn't even give him any mic time. It's because the UFC hates him for that retirement in 2020. It was a negotiating tactic. I've been saying that, since 2020, but I've been saying it on my channel for the last few years. UFC hates Henry Cejudo. Merab Dvalishvili, undeniable at this point. Incredible performance against Henry Cejudo. I thought he beat Henry Cejudo better than Aljamain Sterling beat him, which was a close fight. And if it had been 5 rounds, Merab would have probably finished him in the 4th or 5th because Henry Cejudo was really starting to get tired. He ruined his career. Retiring for 3 years, sitting out, coming back, now fought Aljamain and Merab. 2-fight losing streak now. Hasn't won a fight in 4 years. Henry Cejudo's done. If he didn't retire, he needs to retire. So Merab gets it done. Deserves the next title shot. Moving up on the card, we have Geoff Neal versus Ian Machado Garry. Ian Machado Garry gets a split decision when I don't think it should have been a split decision. And I know people are going to say, Joey, you're biased. I'm not biased, okay? I wanted Ian Machado Garry to win, but that doesn't mean I can't look at a fight objectively, okay? That doesn't mean I can't look at a fight objectively. I think 2 judges had it 29. One judge had it 29-28, Ian Machado Garry. One judge had it 29-28, Geoff Neal. And then one judge had it 30-27 for Ian Machado Garry. This fight was the most boring fight on the main card. It was not a bad fight. It was not a horrible fight. It was just, it didn't really deliver for kind of the hype that was set for this fight, that everyone was kind of hating on Garry and wanted him to get KO'd, and they wanted this like crazy performance, kind of star rising performance from Ian Machado Garry. I thought Garry fought a really good fight in this fight. I thought Geoff Neal, I think they're both to blame for the lackluster performances, but I think Geoff Neal is more to blame. So you have the first round. Geoff Neal's landing good inside leg kicks. He abandons them after the first round, basically. And then you have Neal, at one point he rushes forward and lands 2 really big shots. And that was really Geoff Neal's first round. And after those 2 big shots, he clinches up for like 2 minutes. Garry eventually works his way out of it. There's really no damage done. After they get out of the clinch, Garry starts to have some success, landed some kicks of his own, landed some good body kicks throughout the fight, which I knew he would have. Lands step-in knees multiple times and then an elbow right behind it in the first round. The first round was razor close. I would have to go back and rewatch it. I scored it for Geoff Neal just barely. I thought it was a coin flip. You basically had Geoff Neal with those 2 big shots and a couple inside leg kicks, and then you had Garry with kind of the step-in knee and the elbows that came behind it, and then a couple oblique kicks. I thought it was razor close, but in real time, I gave it to Geoff Neal. Second round, Garry was starting to box him up a bit. Garry's circling. Geoff Neal's kind of trying to track him down, but never really tracks him down. Garry pumping the jab. He even stung him pretty good with a good jab in the second round. Landed some good body kicks. Geoff Neal clinching up again and doing nothing with it. Not even shooting for a takedown. So Geoff Neal's clinching up against the fence, not looking for a takedown, and not throwing any dirty boxing shots at all. Garry's the only guy really throwing some shots. At the end of the second round, Neal lands a couple good shots on Garry, but Garry clearly won the second round. And then the third round was, I think the third round was I think the second round was Garry's best round. The third round, basically more of the same from the second round. It's just Garry kind of circling, landing shots at range. I think it landed a good step. I can't remember. There was a couple step-in knees. Some of them were to the body. There was one that landed to the chin of Geoff Neal, but he was kind of just out of range where it just kind of didn't land full impact. But I can't remember if that was second or third round. I think it was the third round. And then basically you had Garry landing some straight punches, and you had Geoff Neal clinching up again. And I know it's Ian Machado Garry's job to have the skills to get out of those positions, which he did. But it was like Geoff Neal just kept looking to stall the fight. And I thought he clearly lost the second and third. I think people claiming robbery are delusional. I really think it's just you're blinded by your hate. This has nothing to do with the fact that I wanted Ian Machado Garry to win the fight. And also, I thought this was a good performance from Ian Machado, Garry. I thought it was good. Geoff Neal has nasty power in that left hand. And when he did close the distance, there was times where he landed, but he didn't land outside of the first round. He didn't really land super clean. And basically, Garry just used his range. Landed some teep kicks, landed some body kicks, landed some oblique kicks. And Geoff Neal kind of seemed like a kind of a deer in the headlight. And then it looked like he would get frustrated and kind of drop his hands and then kind of start rushing forward. And Garry would pump the jab and back him up or hit him with a teep kick. I thought the performance could have been better from Ian Machado, Garry, but Geoff Neal is very, very tough and has nasty power. So I don't think Ian Garry should sit there and try to trade with him and end up getting KO'd by that nasty left hand of Geoff Neal. But overall, I think this fight is going to get overhated. I understand it wasn't the greatest fight ever. I understand it wasn't an outright barn burner. But it was a decently, it was a decent fight. That's what I'll say. It's a decent fight. I think people are going to overhate it. I enjoyed watching it. And, there was moments in time where both guys were kind of in trouble a bit. Was there a little bit more circling and lateral movement from me and Machado Garry than I would have liked to see? Yeah, but he was getting out of the way of that absolute nuclear left hand from Geoff Neal. Was there more clinching from Geoff Neal than I would have liked to see? Yes. But this wasn't a horrible fight. It just wasn't all that great compared to expectations and compared to the rest of the main card. But Ian Machado Garry gets it done. I don't think it should have been a split decision. I don't know why anybody would score that for Geoff Neal. I don't know. I guess you would give him first and third maybe. But there's no way. Outside of the first round, there's no round you should be giving to Geoff Neal. Ian Machado Garry gets on the mic and calls out Colby Covington, says he wants to retire him. Colby Covington just called up Homeland Security or the FBI or whoever the hell you call. So yeah, I need to get back in witness protection quick. Because I don't think Colby's taking that fight in a million years. I don't think he's taking that fight in a million years. He's going to duck all that shit he talked as a troll. He's an internet troll. He's going to duck that fight. And that's the biggest fight for Colby to win his fans back and also the biggest fight that he can get right now. So if he ducks that fight, cut him from the organization. That's the fight that should get made next. I don't mind any of the other matchups. I don't mind Ian Machado Garry versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. I don't mind Ian Machado Garry versus maybe a Gilbert Burns or Jack Della Maddalene. I don't think that's going to happen. That would be a compelling fight in the future. But I do think, last thing I'll say on this fight before I move along, I do think Ian Machado Garry leveled up. I think he looked good in this fight. Could he have tried harder for the finish? Sure, but Geoff Neal's a very tough opponent and, a big step up for Ian Machado Garry. And I think he had a really good game plan for this fight, especially with a lot of pressure on his shoulders going into this fight. And I think Colby Covington is actually an easier fight than Geoff Neal, but Colby's still squatting on that. I think it's number 5 ranking. So that's the fight that needs to get made next on a pay-per-view card, maybe a co-main event, or potentially a headliner of a fight night card. So Ian Machado Garry gets it done in a phenomenal masterclass performance. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm obviously kidding, but people are going to overhate that performance. That's all I want to harp on. Moving up on the card, the co-main event, we have Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. This was a great fight. This was probably the best fight on the card. I don't know how apparently this didn't get fight of the night. I read that somewhere. That's absolutely crazy. Robert Whittaker looked incredible, was just lighting up Costa with big shots. Won the entire first round, last 5 seconds. Costa was doing okay, landed some shots of his own. Last 5 seconds, and by the way, both guys were brutalizing each other's legs. Last 5 seconds of the first round, spinning wheel kick rocks Robert Whittaker. Costa stole the round. It was the most impactful shot. It hurt Whittaker bad. He was saved by the bell. Second round, third round, Whittaker just gets right back on the attack, is attacking Costa. Second round, Whittaker clearly won the second round, was beating him up, landing big shots. But the crazy thing is, Costa just eats these shots. I don't know how he does it. The only thing that seemed to be affecting him was the leg kicks. That's it. Other than that, it's like he's made of granite. I don't get how, Whittaker was landing some massive big shots on Paulo Costa's chin. And he was like turning over his hips and somehow Costa's just eating it like it's nothing. I could not believe it. We've seen him do it before, so I could believe it. But after that first round, I really thought Costa's going to get him. I said Costa's going to get him out of there. And it was clearly a power differential between the two. Because even though Whittaker was landing the bigger shots, the reaction from Whittaker as Costa landed the less powerful shots was more intense in my opinion. It's strange. Whittaker was battered. Both guys took a lot of damage. Whittaker's leg kicks were filthy, but he took a lot of nasty leg kicks as well. Second and third round, I thought Whittaker clearly won. Third round was a little bit closer. Both guys started to slow down. Whittaker's movement started to slow down a bit. Paulo Costa started to land some good shots. Paulo Costa had a decent showing. I don't think this was a horrible performance. I would like to see maybe Paulo Costa versus Sean Strickland, or maybe book Paulo Costa versus Khamzat Chimaev next. I don't know exactly what they should make, but any of those fights would be fun. I don't think this is a horrible showing for Paulo Costa, but Whittaker clearly won the second and third round, and without that wheel kick in the first round, Robert Whittaker kind of cruises to a 30-27 decision that Costa has moments in. Costa has moments in. There was no grappling in this fight. I think Whittaker feinted like a single leg at one point, but Costa easily defended it. And I don't even think Whittaker's heart was in that takedown. But incredible fight. Both guys landed a lot of nasty shots, but Whittaker appears to be back to prime Whittaker. We don't know just yet, but it's crazy that he's that spinning wheel kick, but boom, Dricus just chins him basically with a jab and melts him. I think he didn't take that fight as seriously as he should have, but great fight. I think both guys' stock kind of goes up after that performance, even though Whittaker really bludgeoned Paulo Costa for all 3 rounds. Even though Costa got the first round with the spinning wheel kick. But I really enjoyed the co-main event. Moving up on the card, we have Alexander Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Already did a full breakdown of this on my channel. I will link it down in the description. Covered it for like 15 minutes straight. Ilia Topuria is your new featherweight champion. Brutally KO'd Alexander Volkanovski in the second round. I think like 3 minutes into the second round, 3.5 minutes into the second round. It was craziness. It was a competitive fight up until the KO that Volkanovski was winning. First round, both guys trading shots. Volkanovski eating some leg kicks, ate a couple right hands, but he was the busier guy. He was landing some good body kicks. He was throwing a lot of head kicks that were getting blocked by Topuria. He was circling well. I thought Volkanovski clearly won the first round. All 3 judges gave him the first round. Second round, it seemed like Volkanovski started to pull away. Early, Topuria was landing some good right hands, even landed a couple that kind of snapped Volk's head back. Volk circling well, landing some good shots, smashing body kicks, switching stances. And then, it seems like, okay. And I said as this fight gets later, Volkanovski would start pulling away. Then, like a minute and a half left into the second round, you have Topuria come in. He had just landed a right hand. Then, like 10 seconds after that, he comes in, throws a right hand to the body that only lands like halfway. Then comes over the top with a left hook. Volk's kind of blocking it, but gets clipped with it a little bit. Then Topuria comes back with another right hand that kind of clips Volk, but he kind of sees it and gets out of the way, clips him a little bit. None of those shots hurt Volk at all. But then Topuria's closing the distance, and this is where Volkanovski made a mistake. And it's crazy. It's a game of inches. Volkanovski thinks, okay, Topuria is now in clinch range. We're going to clinch. He looks for the single collar. Then you have Topuria frame off with the left hand. He immediately takes a step back, frames off with the left hand. Picture perfect right hook right on the chin, puts Volkanovski down and out, follows up with 2 little baby ground and pound shots, but it was over. The second that right hand landed, absolutely filthy KO by Ilia Topuria. And I understand that Volkanovski's 35. I understand he's coming off a KO against Islam Makhachev. But I think that tries to take away from Ilia Topuria. Those things can be true, but Topuria's win could still be amazing. I think this is a phenomenal win against Alexander Volkanovski. I think that Volkanovski is still very good. I think he's the elite of the elite. And I think, the fight was, you did have Volkanovski kind of backing up, and you did see his chin in there a little bit more in this fight. But I really do believe that Volkanovski is still, I don't think he's like massively declined. Now, this may be kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. 2 KOs in a row, lost 3 out of his last 4, which is unbelievable in my opinion. But I think kind of acting like Volkanovski is washed is taking the win away from Ilia Topuria. I think Ilia Topuria is just a different animal, man. He has nasty power, improved striking, and, he's formerly a BJJ guy. If you watched him, previous to his UFC career, he's a submission guy, BJJ guy. Look what he did to Bryce Mitchell. This guy is super well-rounded. I think he can be a superstar. He's only getting better fight to fight. And I do believe, and I said this in my full breakdown, massive career mismanagement by Volkanovski, his manager, and his coaches. Why are you letting him take a fight on 1 week's notice against Islam Makhachev, a guy you already lost to? Then after he gets brutally KO'd there with the head kick, let's do a quick turnaround in 3.5 months against the most dangerous challenger you fought in your entire featherweight title run. Horrible decisions. Volkanovski says he wants a rematch. I want to see him sit out for a bit. I think he does deserve an immediate title fight, and he's 35. His clock is ticking. But I want to see him sit out for a little bit. He's got 2 back-to-back KOs in like a 4-month span. Let him sit out for a bit. Also, I want to cover this in this video as well. Max Holloway fumbled the bag, canceled the BMF fight. He made a massive mistake taking that fight. But Topuria gets it done. Looks so good. It was a competitive fight. Volkanovski was winning, but it was a super competitive fight. And Topuria finds that kill shot. He said he would. He came in super confident, and he delivered on it and slumped out Alexander Volkanovski in the second round. Incredible win for Ilia Topuria. Absolutely incredible win. And it's just that one little mistake where Volk says, okay, we're clinching now. And Topuria says, you know what? Let me back up. Let me frame off. Boom, picture perfect right hand right on the chin. Gets it done. He's the new featherweight champion. Dana White's already confirmed they're going to go to Spain for his next title fight. we'll see. That remains to be seen. Dana White's always talking about, oh, we're going here, we're going there, and then they never end up going there. So we'll see what happens. But let me know what you guys thought of UFC 298 down in the comments. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching.